Here we go. Hi, I'm just interrupting you, Nick, because I don't know if anyone else could hear you, but I couldn't hear a thing this end. I'm going to pass it back over to you, but hi everybody, can you all hear me and see me okay? And when Nick was talking just now, if you could do me a favour, type in the little chat box, let me know if you can hear us alright, guys. Okay, so you can hear me, I'm going to pass it back to Nick, and we'll try again.
Okay, it sounds like everybody apart from Tina heard my introduction, so I'll do a short version. Once again, I think tonight's webinar is going to be incredibly valuable. You're going to learn how to create a webinar presentation that sells without having to do the hard sell bit. So once again, I think Tina's going to give you great value tonight. You'll leave this webinar with a formula, a format to follow so that you too can create webinar presentations that sell and also translate those into live presentations if you so wish. So get ready to make lots of notes and get ready to have a great webinar. Once again, I'd like to introduce you to Tina Sibley.
Thanks, Nick. Well, I hope everybody else heard all of that introduction. I didn't hear a thing, but I did hear you, Nick, on that second half, so all is good. It's been one of those days. As you can see, my webcam looks also as though I'm living in a cave. Everything technology-wise that could have gone wrong today has gone wrong. But one of the things I would like to get across to you all, do you know what? It doesn't matter if the technology goes pear-shaped, as long as you've got a great message and as long as you can get that message over, that is all that matters. All right, so fab. I'd just like you to confirm that you can still hear me. So type yes in the box for me if you can still hear me now that we've swapped over. And it's so exciting. I can see so many different people and lots of people in different countries as well. I'm just kind of going down through the list. There's loads of different people, lots of familiar faces, lots of unfamiliar faces as well. So if you don't know me, then a very big warm welcome from me. So first of all then, why webinars in the first place anyway? Now, a lot of people, when they're marketing online, they rely on things like banner ads, Facebook ads, pay-per-click adverts and all of that kind of thing. Well, I got some startling statistics for you, just to kick things off, about those kind of ads. Now, this is quite shocking, but statistically, a person is more likely to survive a plane crash than they are to click on your banner ad. That is absolutely scary stuff, isn't it? I was flabbergasted when I saw those stats. The reason for that is because the average person is served over 1,700 banner ads in a single month. And I've got a question for you. Do you remember any of them? I mean, I know for the life of me, I only remember ones which grab my attention for some particular reason, and often that's the wrong reason. I started having banner ads come up in my Facebook page recently for funeral expenses. Can you imagine that? I kind of was a bit offended, to be quite honest. I thought, I'm not ready for my coffin just yet, thanks very much. But the point is, ads don't tend to stand out unless either they're totally relevant or they're kind of, quite frankly, insulting. All right, so it's not just the banner ads though. Another startling statistic is that we are bombarded with something between like 3,000 and 20,000 marketing messages every single day. So how on earth are we going to make sure we stand out from all of that marketing noise? Okay, so I'd like you to type in the box for me again if you want to make sure that you are standing out from all of that marketing noise. So just type yes in the box for me. I want lots of engagement on this, so I know that you're all still with me. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, loads of yeses coming in now. Fantastic stuff. All right, so that's why webinars work. Now, what we want to do is have a look at some different methods. But before we go on there, I'd like you to also answer another couple of questions. And again, type yes in the box. Do you want to make a difference in the lives of other people? I know a lot of people out there have set their businesses up because they are passionate about the cause, they're passionate about helping people, and at the same time, I'm guessing you want to increase your income and make a difference in your own life as well. And yeah, the yeses are all piling in now. Brilliant. Then we're all in the right place, because this webinar is for you if you want to, basically, if you're answering yes to any of those two questions. All right, so here's some other reasons, that you might have joined us tonight. And I apologise, some of my slides, again, as I was saying with technology, uploading it into the webinar software, they've got a bit distorted. So later on, I'm going to switch to desktop where you can see just the presentation and not me. But for now, I kind of want to engage with you a little bit, so I'm going to leave it even though the slides are a bit distorted. So perhaps you're on this webinar because right now you don't have as many clients as you would like. Yeah, perhaps your list is quite small in the grand scheme of things as yet. Possibly you don't have the income that you would like to have just yet, and that's what you're aspiring towards. But that can leave you sometimes feeling frustrated, because it might well be that you know that you're blinking good at what you do, and you're not making enough of a difference because as yet not many people know about you. Your message isn't out there in front of enough people yet. And that can sometimes leave you feeling that, you're not walking your talk. I hear so many people saying, yeah, but it's hard to get out there with my message because I haven't cracked it yet myself either. Well, we're all on a journey, okay? But the point is that if you can, well, again, type yes in the box for me, guys, if any of those statements you can relate to. Because I know that this is how I was feeling, and I'll tell you about my story a bit later on, but that's certainly how I was feeling not that long ago, okay? And I'm guessing that what you're going to want instead is a massive subscriber list, plentiful clients, but without having to bash people over the head or chase them up the street, and not having to do that horrid hard sell thing, because most of us, we're in that helping industry, yeah? And we don't actually like feeling as though we're being pushy or salesy or anything like that. On top of that, we really do want to make a big difference. We do want that great income so we can have the life that we deserve, because I'm guessing also that you've been working really hard and you deserve that income and that lifestyle, and again, most of us, we've invested a fortune in our personal development, in our training to get to this point, and it's quite criminal that it's actually can be quite difficult to reap the rewards that we were all promised when we first started out. And of course what you want to do as well is to be that role model for other people. So again, shove yes in the box if you can relate to any of those statements for me. I'm just keeping an eye on things. Oh yeah, big smile. Thank you, Ilaria. Big smiles. Absolutely. Well, we're all in the right place then. That's all good. Okay, so what we need is quite simply a vehicle to get you from wallowing around in the treacle to being a superstar. And this is where my slides start going very peculiar. It's simply the ability to speak to groups of people. And speaking to groups of people are really important, because why on earth would you want to do this one by one, you know, and speak, you know, to people? A lot of coaches, trainers, consultants, therapists, you know, recruit their clients on a one-by-one basis, and that makes life such hard work. You know, why speak, you know, one-to-one when you can speak one-to-many, especially, you know, when you're, you know, at that beginning part of the funnel. And also the spoken word is 1,000 times more powerful than the written word. And I just want to show you some statements here about what people remember. And remember, when we started at the beginning, we were talking about banner ads. So I'm going to dive straight into some content here for you. I know that there's nothing worse than those webinars that kind of take half an hour before we even get into any form of content. So I'm, you know, going to give you content straight away. So get your pens ready. Start filling in some of these blanks for me. Put some of the answers in the box, okay? So what percentage do we remember from what we read? You know, what is it from what we hear? What's the percentage that we remember from what we see? And so on and so on and so on. Have some guesses. Just type in the box for me some guesses of how much people remember of those statements. And you've all gone quiet on me now. Okay, just type in some guesses. Wild guesses. It doesn't matter if they're wrong. Okay. You can all hear me, can you? Just want to check that you can hear me. Okay. Oh, good. I've got some replies. That's good. Yeah, 10%, 20%. Now, obviously, it depends which ones you're referring to here. But at least I've got you thinking. So that's good. That's all good. All right. It's 10% of what we read. Now, think about it for a minute. Most adverts are basically, you know, a lot of it is wordy. So it might be that it's only 10% of what we're going to read. It's 20% of what we hear. And then it's 30% of what we see. And then it goes up to 50% of what we see and hear. Now, first of all, the difference between what we read and what we see is reading is just text, seeing is just is images. Okay, so it goes up if there's pictures. But when you combine the seeing and the hearing, it goes up to 50%. So if you're just using a text advert, like, I don't know, on perhaps like on Google, pay-per-click or anything like that, it's only going to have 10% impact. If you're using pictures, that puts it up to 30%, but as soon as you start doing a webinar where you've got something that can be seen and heard, and it's the same for video, all of a sudden that jumps to 50%. Now, wouldn't you prefer people remember 50% of what you say rather than one of those lower figures? Yeah, type in yes if you agree with me. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. And this is one of the reasons why I'm asking you to type in the box. And by the way, you can chat with each other as well. You haven't just got to answer my questions, all right? So you can chat with each other. I'm not one of these webinar providers who says, oh no, I can't possibly have people chatting, you know, while I'm presenting. And the reason for that is because when you discuss stuff with others, that puts the memory up to 70%. All right, and the fact that I'm getting you to engage with me, and even if it's just answering questions, we're getting into discussion realm. And if you start discussing things with each other while I'm presenting, then you're much more likely to be engaged and you're much more likely to remember what it is that I'm talking about. Does that make sense? So this is one of the reasons I am such a big fan of webinars, and I am in particular a big fan of interactive style webinars. I love this kind of thing. I love Google Hangouts, anything where you can get interaction going at the same time that the presentation is going on. Now, Nick was saying that a lot of what you learn tonight you can also use if you're creating videos or if you're speaking on stage, and that is absolutely true. And when you're on stage you can also add in exercises and things for your audience to do, and get them to experience stuff personally, and that actually puts it up to 80%. So speaking in general is a fantastic way of connecting with your target audience, way more than adverts can ever do, okay? And then when you go on to teaching others, it goes up to 95%, just to fill in all the blanks for you there. So hopefully I've convinced you now why, webinars are such a powerful tool. And again, just answer a question for me. How many of you are running webinars right now? Stick a yes in if you're running webinars already, and put a no in for me if you're not running webinars right now. Let's see who, what kind of percentage we've got. Yeah, we got some yeses, a lot of no's. Yeah. Oh, loads of no's. Oh, we got some yeses. That's good. That's good. Okay, so it's a bit of a mixture. So if you've never run a webinar before, then I really urge you to take a leap. It's not that difficult, and you know what? If the first one or two go pear-shaped, it doesn't matter. Like anything, you get better and better as you go along. And for those of you who are running them, I'm going to hopefully share with you some stuff tonight which you didn't already know that can make a massive difference. Okay, so some top tips based on what I've just told you then. First of all, if pictures add to memory, it makes sense, doesn't it, to put pictures on your slides. Hey, and if you're wondering why I picked that particular picture, no other reason of the bears. It's no other reason than it's a picture and I love bears and I thought it was really cute. But just put pictures on your slides, and also encourage discussion. So this might be a factor for you to think about when choosing your webinar platform. Now, I know a lot of people use GoToWebinar. There's an awful lot about GoToWebinar that is fantastic, but the things that I don't like about it is that when you do the replay, although you can share your webcam live, it won't record if you're speaking to camera. It won't record it. I've had that discussion with them. And of course the big thing is people buy from people they know, like and trust, right? And there is nothing that can help develop that trust than when you can see the person. You can see the whites of the eyes, you can see whether or not you connect with that person and whether you think they're genuine, and all of that kind of stuff is really, I think, a fantastic way of connecting with your audience when they can see you. Now, for those who are brand new beginners, don't panic because you don't have to in your first view be speaking to camera. You might just put your photograph up there so that you can refer to your notes much more easily without being seen and all that kind of thing. That's okay too, but that's why I like this platform, and also I like to use a platform that does encourage that chat. All right, so moving on then. That's a couple of top tips. What I want to do now is give you some of the big mistakes I promised that people make and that I would help you with. Well, the big mistake number one is that people do not plan their strategy for their webinars, and they don't plan the structure, or they've kind of got the wrong one. Okay, so it's really important that you spend the time mind mapping it out first. A lot of people kind of start with the slides first and then they get all kind of stuck. So just plan it all out, use a structure, and I have got a gift for you at the end to help you with your planning and your strategy and all of that kind of stuff. I am going to give you a template that you can download and use. So you've got to stay right to the end to get your hands on it. And basically it's a great tool. I use it myself. I use it to put my webinars together and to guide me through the process, and I found it saves a lot of time, and it helps me get my brain into gear, and it helps me cut out a lot of the waffle and all that kind of stuff. You're saying thank you and you haven't even got it yet. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled you like that idea. Okay, So, moving on, big mistake number 2 is not having a visual model. Now, I made this mistake when I first started out, and especially when you start going online. I've been speaking and presenting now for too many years without giving my age away, but it's over 20 years. And then I started training about 10 years ago as a speaker, and I got great feedback. People always used to say what a fantastic presentation, how much they learned, how much they were inspired by what I had to say and all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't selling, you know. And one of the reasons I wasn't selling is, well, number one, I wasn't particularly following a sales structure, which we'll come on to later, but I didn't have a visual model. I was selling something that was intangible. And even when I started selling programs, it doesn't work to just sell the title of a program and a contents list. Does that make sense? So you really need to have a visual model for people to hang on what it's all about. And they can get their heads around it, and they can think, wow, that sounds good. Now, any of the big famous people who've sold loads of books, Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Effective People. That sounds like a list, but actually there was a visual model that went with it, that kind of circle with the triangles in it and all that kind of thing. You know, the 1 Minute Manager, nice 4-box model, you know, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the pyramid, yeah? So you must try and put your message across by terms of a visual model. That really makes a massive difference. So that is quite simply the first secret that I wanted to share with you. There are tons of models for you to choose from, and you haven't got to invent a new model. A lot of people use one of these styles of model. I rather like the star. You'll see that a little bit later on, and you'll see that I use that a lot throughout this presentation. But you can use a simple square box model, you can use a triangle, you can use Venn diagrams, process maps, you know, a little house with pillars and foundations and a roof and all that kind of stuff. Of course, there's the sales funnel that we all know and love. So if you can put your stuff, if you can put your message around visual models, then it makes it so much more powerful and more memorable. Okay, big mistake number 3. Now, this is something which I struggled with massively when I first started doing webinars about a year or so ago. Most webinars that you will see are loads of content, and then all of a sudden at the end they switch to a sales pitch. Okay, now secret number 2 I'm going to give you later, but really what you want to be doing is looking out for not, you know, I certainly, when I was learning this, I was told like 90% of webinars, they give loads of content, fabulous education, and then all of a sudden they switch to sales mode and the presenter goes all weird. Now that was me. I was great. I was really comfortable giving all the content and all the you know, stuff that I knew people would benefit from and that they would like, because that's what I'm all about. I've been a trainer for many, many years. But then all of a sudden it was, oh my gosh, I've got to sell now. And then all of a sudden my confidence went out the window, and I changed my presentation style from being, you know, really confident to all of a sudden being quite tentative. And how many of you can relate to that? Type in a box for me if you kind of go all weird when it suddenly comes to changing from the content bit to the sales bit. Yep. Yep. Yeah, lots of people can relate to that one. Well, I've got good news, because after tonight you will find out how not to have to go through that. But that's going to come later on. Can't give away all my secrets too early. Now, to avoid mistakes, something that you need to do is apply intelligent learning. We're great at wandering along on this path thinking that we don't need help from anybody and we can do it all of ourselves. Now, I'm assuming that everybody here has watched a war movie, yeah? Okay, so what I want you to do is just shut your eyes for a minute, and I want you to imagine that you're in that movie. I want you to imagine that you're actually not in a movie at all, but you're on the battlefield. Now, there are bombs and bullets going off all around you. You can hear the explosions, you know, you can smell the gunpowder and all of that kind of stuff. And you're finding that you're terrified, okay? You're feeling like, oh my goodness, I have to get out of here. Oops, I've got somebody telling me the sound is playing up. Okay, sound is fine at my end. It might be your internet connection, George. Can anyone else just let me confirm to me whether you can hear me all right? Sorry, you don't have to open your eyes and type now for me. Yeah, fine. Maybe your internet connection's a bit weird there, George. Okay, everybody else can hear me, so I'm going to continue. All right, so shut your eyes and get back on that battlefield. You've got the bombs going off all around you. You can hear the explosions. You can smell the gunpowder, you know, and you can really feel the fear, you know. Now, about 100 yards away, there is safety. And you need to get to that safety, but there's a problem. Between you and safety, there is a minefield. All right, now you've got three options of crossing this minefield. You can either just shut your eyes, run for it and hope for the best. And you might be thinking that that's a bit of a risky strategy, and you might be wondering what the chances are of you actually reaching the other side. Second option, you can actually get a map of the battlefield and a map that tells you where those mines are. How many of you would prefer, you might have to open your eyes again at this bit to type in the box for me, how many of you would prefer to have a map telling you where the mines are so that you can get to the safety with a lot more certainty than the first time? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lots of people saying yes. Brilliant. Okay. So that's better. Now the trouble is though, what if you've got the map the wrong way? What if it's an old map? You know, what if, how confident are you that you're really going to get to the other end? Because there is a third option. Now, what if you could follow a really battle-hardened sergeant major who has been on this battlefield 1,000 times before, knows his way through that minefield, and you can follow him. So as he picks his feet up, you put your feet in his footsteps. And you know there's no landmine there because he's just put his foot there. How many of you would prefer to follow that sergeant major who's done it all before and can lead you to safety? Type in the box for me if that is what you would prefer. Yeah, obvious. It makes sense, doesn't it? And this is what intelligent learning is all about. Basically, it's about finding that regimental sergeant major who's done it all before and can lead you to safety. You can get there a lot faster and with a lot fewer bruises along the way. So that's what I call intelligent learning. Now, when do you do the learning? This is the thing, and quite simply, that is dependent on how long you want it to take you to get from wallowing around in that treacle to being that superstar. So a lot of people, we're really good at procrastinating. So we might say, well, oh, I'll do it when little Johnny starts school, or I'll do it after the summer holiday, or I'll do it when I've got a bit more money in the bank, or I'll do it after Christmas, or and so on and so on and so forth. But why on earth would you want to spend a single day longer wallowing around in the treacle when you can be on that journey moving towards being the superstar that you are and that you deserve to be, and you deserve to get well compensated for it? So you know, if you can't kind of find that regimental sergeant major right now, at least find a corporal. You know, find somebody, or at least find a private who's been doing it for quite some time. You know, find somebody who is going to be able to take you more safely than doing it all by yourself. Okay, does that make sense, guys? So a little bit about my story, because this is kind of the journey I went on, and I'll keep this very brief. I'm not one for going on and on about me, but I started training and presenting back in the 80s when I was working in the financial services industry. I moved into training and development, and then I went self-employed in 2000, and basically I started off doing really well. You know, there was loads of work back then, you know, things were going hunky-dory and all the rest of it. But then in the early sort of 2002, I trained as a life coach. I did my NLP practitioner and master practitioner training. I then went off and joined all the Professional Speakers Association training and all that kind of stuff. And I actually went and got lots and lots of bits of paper, you know. At that time, I thought that I needed all of that before anyone would take me seriously. As it happens, that's not true, but that's what I thought at the time. I went off then and I got paid to do speaking stuff. A lot of trainers out there who are training presentation skills, they've only ever taught classrooms. They've never actually got up and stood on a conference stage and spoke in front of large audiences in their lives. And they've certainly not got paid for it. I have been paid to go up and stand on that stage, so I can tell you exactly what it's like. Then there's a lot of professional speakers who they've got all the ability to speak on stage. They get paid for it, but they're not necessarily qualified trainers, and they can't pass their skills on to you. I've been there and done it, got the t-shirt and all the rest of it, and that's kind of partly my story as well, because in about mid 2000s, things started to go a bit pear-shaped. You know, we started moving into recession, the work started drying up, and I started to really struggle. And I struggled for quite a lot of years with my offline business. It got to the stage where then I ended up splitting up with my husband. Cut a long story short, a lot of debt had gone into my name, because at the time, because of ill health, he wasn't working. And then when I was on my own, I found myself with debts I couldn't manage. I was on my own and I had no choice other than to go bankrupt. So that was a pretty scary place. And on top of that, I wasn't getting any work where I live in beautiful Plymouth. And actually about Plymouth, you can just see down here, this is where I live, Plymouth in the southwest of England, which is beautiful, but doesn't have the most vibrant economy in the world, sadly. My big passion is salsa dancing. I like to do that on the beach and on the waterfront in Plymouth. But like everybody else, I have a dream, and my dream is to move to Gibraltar, where it's still Britain, but it's in the sunshine as well. So anyway, I was finding that I was struggling. I'd gone bankrupt, and although I lived in a nice place, I was thinking, you know what, I might have to move to a bigger town like Bristol or move to London so that I can connect with the work. But my heart just sank, because I love living where I live, you know. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. Choice between quality of life or income, but then again, if you don't have the income, trust me, there's no quality of life either. So it was a big decision for me. And then somebody gave me the idea, well, what about going online? And I thought, wow, that's it. And I got so excited, and I did manage to borrow some money off a friend to get a program to go online. Sadly, perhaps it wasn't the right corporal who was training me, but whatever. I went from earning next to nothing offline to going and earning next to nothing online. How cool, you know? And that's why I can say I've been there and done it and got the t-shirt. How many of you have been in that situation? You know, so it's like, yes, you're doing all the right things, but there's something missing. There's some jigsaw pieces missing, and that's what I found. Fortunately, when I came out of my bankruptcy, and up until that point, I wasn't allowed to earn money, because if I did, it was just taken off me by the official receiver. But when I came out of my bankruptcy, all of a sudden, things were different. Now, if I did have any money, I was allowed to invest it in myself. And I went out, and I was really fortunate in somebody offered me some work, which, okay, a lot of the, you know, NLP or coach gurus might tell you, no, stay with your heart, stay doing what you do. But this was work completely unrelated to what I wanted to do. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to take it. And I took that work. It was a contract, because it gave me the money to invest in mentoring. So what I was doing is I was working for these guys. I had a 6-month contract. I was working for them, and then I was building my online business in the evening. But it was such a difference when I started investing in the right programs. I can't tell you the difference it made. And the difference it made, was a couple of months ago, I ran a webinar and I made $16,000. That's about £10,500 for those of us here in the UK, off the back of just one webinar in about a 2-week period. And I did that through running a webinar, making sales on the webinar, and then afterwards I sold people into my continuous, my monthly program, which is for a year long. And what I've got now is something I haven't had for a long time. Not only have I got peace of mind, I have a continuous, monthly, regular, reliable income without thinking, oh my God, what have I got to flog this month to pay the rent? How many of you would like that? Stick yes in the box if that sounds appealing to you. You've all gone quiet. Have I stunned you into silence? Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Brilliant. Fantastic. So what I want to do now is basically share how I did that so that you can do it too, because this is not about me. This is all about you and how you can stand out from that marketing noise that we talked about earlier on. And I just wanted to inspire you that it doesn't get worse of a starting place than being bankrupt. So if I can do it, then you can do it as well. And let me tell you, I am not techie. A couple of short years ago, I had no clue what an autoresponder was. I'd never heard of a webinar, let alone attended one. So it doesn't matter what your starting point is, you can do that as well. So speaking and getting amazing webinars. Now what I'm going to do at this stage, because my slides are a little bit off, I'm going to switch in a tick to desktop, so you won't see me, but you'll just see the slides, and then I'll switch back a bit later on. But basically, speaking in context is offline as well as online. So if you're speaking offline, it's going to be through on stage, or it can be in meetings, you know, networking meetings, or it can be online through webinars, which is obviously the main topic of what we're sharing tonight. But you can use a lot of this in videos as well. And what I'm going to do now is I want you to think about where you would like to start speaking first, because it might well be, you know, webinars is high on everybody's agenda because that's the topic of the webinar tonight. But how many of you would like to speak in other situations as well? Type in the box for me while I'm just switching to sharing this on the desktop so I can share my slides with you more effectively. Okay, fantastic. Now, what I'd like you to do is to confirm that you can see my screen. Now, I've got a little tip for you. At the top, at the bottom of your taskbar, you've got a little button that says Zoom 100%. And if you click on that, it will say Show All, and you should then see the full slide rather than just part of it, and you'll still get a little bit of chat window. Okay, so we got webinar, please, and webinar and on stage. Okay, and webinars and videos, webinars. Okay, we got lots of different ways then. Yeah, on stage, absolutely, on stage in front of large audiences as well. Cool. So we got people wanting to do a bit of everything. And can you just confirm that you can see my slides? Okay, that you can see the screen for me now that I've switched. Yeah. If you've lost the top of the screen, on the taskbar at the bottom, Richard, just click on the little button. It'll either say Show All or it'll say Zoom. Okay, some of you can't see all the slides. Okay, have you found the little Show All button? You don't see that Zoom. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's working. Yeah, right, okay, you've got it, Richard. Okay, everybody else, yeah, you've got it. Brilliant. People are finding it now. Okay. Okay, yeah, just have a look on the bottom of the slides if you haven't got it. If there are any people where it is odd, it might well be that it's because of, I don't know, machines or... Oh yeah, you've got it now. Fantastic, people have got it. All right, fantastic. So I'm going to carry on then. There is a replay, obviously, and that should capture it all okay too for anybody who might not see it, but I think you've all got it. So first of all, then, you've got those 4 places where you can speak. Now, there are certain skills you're going to need in order to be able to speak in any of those, and that is you're going to need to have confidence. You're going to need to have the right content. You're going to need the right charisma, in other words, your delivery style, and then of course you've got continuous improvement. Now, when you see these speakers on stage, I'm sure a lot of you go to conferences on a regular basis, and you know, you see these speakers, they're slick, they're polished, or the people who give webinars all the time, yeah? what you probably don't realise, or you might do if you've been to several conferences, they actually give the same talk over and over and over again. Okay, now one of my teachers, Andy Harrington, I've been on his Professional Speakers Academy and his Public Speakers University. He's been giving the same speech now, the same talk, for about something like 10 years. I'm just having a look actually. I've got I think I might have been better off with the slides where they were, because I've got a test person set up, and that's really weird. Might be if you move your mouse around you might get, that's really strange. Sorry guys, my slides are doing very strange things. I tell you what, I'm going to go back to me, because then at least if you can't see the slide, you can see me. I might be having to rethink my opinion of this particular webinar platform, unless they can tell me how to solve this problem. All right, and let's go back to where we were. Stop sharing. Presentation. Okay. Now, you might want to click zoom again or whatever. Oh no, it's gone back. Fine, that's where it is. Okay, you've all got me better. Yeah, it is better now. All right, some of the slides are a bit skewy, guys, but as long as you can see me, and I'm sure you can get the gist. Okay, so going back to where we were then, like I said, you need those 4 things. You need the confidence, the content, and all the rest of it. And as far as continuous improvement goes, you know what? Your first one will be ropey. I don't know a single person who is now delivering webinars on a regular basis and who are brilliant, whose first webinar wasn't really ropey, you know. So those of you who've not done it yet, that's fine. It's a journey, it's a process, you know, it's what you kind of go through. Okay, yeah, lots of people. Yeah, probably Dan as well. I haven't seen Dan's early efforts, but I would guarantee and stake my hat on that everybody has improved from wherever they started with. And let's face it, like with anything, like with horse riding or speaking French, you know, some people take to learning new stuff faster than others. And some people will be will have a higher starting point than others. Some people will take time to get there, but everybody can improve. And all it is about is just doing it again and again, tweaking, evaluating, and getting the help from those mentors to guide you through. Yeah, does that make sense? Now, the next thing is that at the heart of all this is selling. See, there we go. That's one of my distortions on the slides. That should say sell. Not sell, and then another L further on. Now, it doesn't matter if you're selling your own business, if you're selling a program, if you're employed and going for a job interview, if you are just at a meeting, you know. So it might well be that and even as, you know, sort of self-employed business owners, you know, you could go to meetings with joint venture partners, for example. You've got to sell your ideas, you know, you've got to sell your just pearls of wisdom, you know, with people. So selling is at the heart of everything. Even if at night, you know, you're watching TV and you want to watch one side and your family want to watch the other side, you've got to sell the reasons why they should watch the channel with you. Either that or tell them to go upstairs and watch it on their iPad or something. But, you know, selling is at the heart of all speaking, but it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. It really, really doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Alrighty, so moving along then, what is really important is that you need to speak to the right people about the right topic with extreme poise on the right platform and with a killer presentation. Okay, and I'm going to go through all of this. Now, when I set this webinar up, I probably should have said at the start, probably about 8:15 thereabouts this is going to go on to, okay? But what I want to do is give you a sneak preview. I am about to launch on the 24th of October my new system called the 5-star speaker system. Okay, that is going to be launched, and what that is all about is it's a model, as you can see, and it's all about making sure you're in front of the right audience, speaking about the right topic with extreme poise on the right platform and with a killer presentation. And one of the things that really excites me about this is once I started putting it together, I realised, and once I started working on this, I realised some of the places that I'd been going wrong previously. Now, I'm going to run through, I obviously don't have time to go into depth on all of this. I'm just going to run through some of the stuff with you, and then I'm going to talk to you more about the killer presentation itself. But first of all, these are important because if you don't get these right, you can have the best presentation in the world and you still will fall flat and not make the sales that you want to. The first thing, the S, is all about what I call the swarm effect, okay? It's all about creating that swarm instead of having just one or two bees, you know, around a pretty flower in your garden. And that's what it used to be like for me, you know. I would always have a couple of clients, but actually, you know, you want a swarm of bees making a big pot of honey for you. And there are certain things that you have to do to kind of make sure you are speaking in front of the right audience. So, for example, you know, it's like, where are you going to find them? You know, what are their worries and all that kind of stuff. To give you an example, when I started out, my thing way back in 2000 and odd was leadership training, management development, all that kind of stuff. And I was going out and giving talks to networking presentations, and it took me some time to realise I was actually banging on about leadership and management development and team building to sole traders. Hello? To say I had the wrong audience was a bit of an understatement. So, you know, got to make sure that, you know, you're connecting, and there's so much more to it than what I've just described, but obviously we don't have time for all of that. So that's the swarm effect. So the P, what is the P all about? The P, I'll have a P, please, Bob. Sorry, bit of my odd humour coming in here. The P, now this is where it goes really pear-shaped, but this is your prime topic, okay? Now, your prime topic basically is, again, really important. You might have the right audience, but even though you've got the right audience, you might be sending them fast asleep, and you don't want to do that. You've got to make sure that what you're delivering is going to be a topic that is relevant to them and is interesting and that is going to get them, you know, really hanging off your every word, and, you know, that picture on the bottom right. That is what we're looking for, you know, with the topic. And again, there's a lot of things that you've got to go into in there. One of them, this is prime. I'm going to talk about M, actually. I think M is far more interesting, and M is the model. I was telling you earlier that it's all about using visual models. And as you can see, I've used visual models based around a star. And there are 5 stars, hence the 5-star speaker system. And each star is covering a particular important part of the overall system, and each star is its own subsystem. Does that make sense? So one of the things that I want you to start thinking about is how you can arrange your stuff into models, or a series of models that make up, you know, an overall system. Okay, so I hope you're writing all this down, because this is really important, and this is one of the key things that made a difference to me is using models. Okay. Obviously in my system I teach you how to put the models together, but I just don't have time to go into that tonight. Not unless you're all happy to stay until at least midnight, but I shouldn't imagine for a minute you are. So that's the topic. Okay, the E, now this is where all the confidence comes in. Okay, the E is what I call extreme poise. And I call it poise really rather than confidence, because it's where you appear, you know, nice and calm and serene and perfectly poised on the surface, but underneath you might be feeling less confident. You know, you might be paddling like mad. And I'm not sure if you can see that clearly on your screens. I think you can, yeah. But basically, you're paddling like mad, but below the surface, you're thinking, what the flipping heck happens next? You know? But they don't need to, your audience doesn't need to see that. They don't need to see that at all. And as long as you just are yourself and you stick to your message, I can't guarantee you that your webinars will go smoothly. They probably won't. You know, I mean, I've been doing webinars for ages now. I've been experimenting with lots of different platforms, and trust me, they all have little technical hitches and clicks. That's the kind of nature of it. But as long as I mean, you've seen me tonight. You know, there's been little technical hitches. The slides are not looking as they should. The cameras, you know, I look like I'm in a cave. and I've switched. You just switch back and forward, and you just have to get your message across. That's all it's about. And this is where your speaking skills come in. Honestly, guys, if you've got the right speaking skills, the technology doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Okay. So, in order to make sure you've got that right level of poise, again, there's a whole load of things that you need to look at. Intelligent learning is one of them. That's what the I stands for. And you know, then there's a whole load of stuff. For example, we look at ousting your limiting beliefs, challenging the way you think about things, and so on and so forth. So that is where that is what the E is all about. So that is extreme poise and where all of that comes from. Now, a lot of you are already coaches and NLP practitioners, so state management and all of that kind of stuff comes into it. So as long as you do all of that, because sometimes we're a bit like, you know, we've got the mechanic's car syndrome. We use our tools on other people, and we use our tools to help other people, and we forget to use them on ourselves. So remember to, you know, do all of that kind of stuff. All right, moving on then. So that's extreme poise. Then the next one is A, and this is all about your speaking arena. Okay, now as I said earlier, this can be big conferences, this can be in a meeting, and that can be actually it can be a meeting at a conference, you know, when you get around the table, or it can be a networking meeting, it can be a director's meeting, you know, you could be giving a sales pitch in a director's, you know, if you're selling to the corporate world, for example. Lots of different things. Then you've got my favourite, which is the webinar, where you're speaking to you know, loads and loads of other people all at once through their screens, and of course you've got videos as well. And it's all about choosing the right platform. For you, it might be a combination of them. You know, I mean, I used to do an awful lot of business networking. Where I live right now is no point, so I don't do networking at the local Chamber of Commerce or the BNI meetings. I've done them all. You know, anything that I was going to get out of them, I already got, which wasn't much. So I do my networking now at conferences, you know, far more effective, because, you know, that's all about actually getting joint venture partners rather than trying to sell to people, if, you know, does that make sense? Okay, so but it's not just about that. It's all about the things you have to do to get ready. So the things that you have to do to get ready for a live event are different from what you have to do to get ready for a webinar, for example. And it's all the logistics. So you need to just think about, take the biggest mistake people make, and I haven't got time to obviously teach you all this right now, because I'm going to go into more depth on the presentation side of things, but just think, take the time. Most people don't take enough time to plan this and get it right. So just think about those things, you know, when you're planning all of this. Okay, so that's the arena. And your webinar choice of platform and everything will come into that as well. So finally then, we come on to the killer presentations. Okay, and this is the thing that I am most passionate about. This is where I absolutely love helping people, is to put this bit together. Obviously, I love helping all the rest of it as well, but we've all got the favourite bits of our job that we have and that we do, and this is my favourite. I adore helping people put the actual nuts and bolts of a presentation together and to get them delivering it. Like I said though, if this is perfect, if you haven't got the other four right, it's a bit like talking to an empty room or talking to the wall. Those of you old enough to have seen the film Shirley Valentine, you know, talk to the wall. And that's not what we want you to do. We want you to have an amazing presentation in front of a massive audience, and a massive audience of the right type with the right topic as well. So let's go through what I call then the 5 C's of a killer presentation. So first of all, and again you need to take lots of notes here, because I haven't got a different slide for all of this, otherwise I would have been, you know, in danger of giving you death by PowerPoint. But the first slide is that you have to construct your presentation. Now, just type in the box for me, when you're putting together a presentation or a slide, are you tempted to just start with an empty PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever if you're using a Mac, and you just go slide and you build it up slide by slide, or you get a blank piece of paper and you just start and you write your way through it? Yeah, that's the way that I used to do it, and actually that is the way not to do it. You need to put your presentation together and you need to construct it in the way of a a lot of you now this is it, you see, especially those of you who are designers, you use the slides to build it on, but I'm going to tell you now, it's far more powerful if you leave the design and the slides until later. Remember, they are a visual aid, they are not the presentation, so you've got to get the presentation right first and then build the design and the slides to aid it, if that makes sense. Absolutely, Philomena, that, you know, that is, it's all about what you want to achieve. So the first thing that you do when you're constructing is you need to think about, what is the outcome I want? Quite simply, what is the purpose of this presentation? And then what you need to do is you start backwards. As IBM used to say, start with the end in mind. So what you need to do is think about, okay, what am I going to do at the end of this presentation? How do I want my audience to think, feel and do at the end of my presentation? And then what you need to do is think, okay, let's go back then, and now let's, you know, think, how am I going to get there? And the next thing that you want to do is think of, what opening, what really powerful beginning can I use that's going to make people sit up and take notice? Because unless you have that attention grabbing start, people are going to fall asleep. Okay, now if you remember at the very beginning, I kind of said, why webinars? Well, a lot of people are currently using ads and Facebook ads and banner ads. And then I put that shocking slide up of, do you know what? People are more likely to survive a plane crash than they are to click on your ad. You know, it's a powerful sit up. Oh my goodness, really? You know, and there are lots of different methods, which, you know, again, I haven't got time to go into all the different methods, but there are lots of different methods of getting that powerful opening, which makes people sit up and take notice and get them engaged and listening to you. So basically then, once you've got your opening, you move your middle, is basically how you get from the beginning to the end so that it's all seamless. Okay, and I've got a gift for you, and that gift that I told you about is how you construct it. So, you know, earlier on I told you I was going to give you a template. That template guides you through the steps, but when you've got your hands on a template, go to the back of it first. You know, start with the end. How am I going to close this? Is the purpose of this a sales webinar? Is it an educational one? Is it both? You know, am I just delivering content for people who've already bought from me and all that kind of stuff as well? All right. So that's the construction. So please, please, please just do it in mind mapping and construction terms first. Once you've constructed it, then you move on to the crafting of it, and this is where you write a script. Yes, you write words. Now, I'm going to tell you later on, because I know that people are going to be screaming at me, no, people say don't do a script, and it's right, you don't learn the script. But I want you to just start thinking about writing the script, and the reason that you can do that is so that you can put in the right words and the stories, and you can time it, you know. So I mean, I knew that I wanted to wrap. Most of my webinars are usually, a lot of webinars these days are 90 minutes. I don't want to go on that long, but an hour often isn't quite enough. So an hour and a quarter is usually where I aim to. So it's a really good idea to have a script so that you can time it, and, you know, so on and so forth, and then you know what to leave out, what to put in, and all of that kind of stuff. Once you've written your script, then you go back, and what you do, the third C, is all about, how am I going to bring this to life? How am I going to bring this script to life? How am I going to captivate my audience? So now it's, well, all right, what stories can I use here? And now you start playing with your script, and you start changing your script. Start putting metaphors in. So, for example, I added later, after I'd written my initial script, the story, the metaphor of being on a battlefield. Yeah, it's far more interesting than me just telling you, look, go and get a mentor. You know, it's the stuff that brings it to life. And then, of course, in that story, you bring in, you know, all of the senses. Like, you know, you can hear the bombs going off. You can smell the cordite. You can feel the fear. You know, so this is what you do then when you've got. But you can't do this if you haven't written a script. So you've got to kind of start thinking about vocabulary as well, and where you can enrich it, and all of that kind of stuff. And this is what we take you through in a lot more detail in my system. But start thinking about that. It's, you know, the stuff that I'm giving you tonight, honestly, you can go away and do an awful lot with already. The next thing that you need to do then is work on your charm. And this is all about how you work the charisma in. And a lot of people say, well, charisma, you either got it or you haven't. You know, you're born with it or you're not. That is nonsense. Charisma is 50% engineering and 50% natural, but it can all be learned. Okay? Because even the natural stuff, actually, you can build on it. So, and funnily enough, if you've got your right content and you've got the right confidence, you're 50% of the way there in having charisma. Okay? So think about it for a minute. If you've got the right vocabulary and you've got the right stories, you're going to give a more charismatic speech. Then what we need to do is get you working on the delivery. So then what you need to do is start thinking about, certainly if you're on a stage, you need to start thinking about, how am I going to be moving? You know, what am I going to do with my arms and my body language? Where am I going to stand on the stage? For webinars, you haven't got that. So with webinars, it's all about your voice. So you need to practice where you're going to perhaps, you know, be animated and excited. I actually find it hard to be anything but animated and excited. But if I'm making a serious point, I will slow down. You know, and if it's shocking or anything like that, I'll slow down and I'll bring my voice level down. So these are the things that you can do to build charm and charisma. And again, I've got this as charm. This is actually another subsystem, so we go into this in quite a lot of depth. But I've already told you heaps that you can put into practice already on how to, you know, deliver your presentation. I've already talked about this, but once you've done all of that, it's all about continual improvement. Oh, by the way, when you get to that charm bit, and also part of the crafting, once you've done all of this, you do your slides afterwards. Okay, so you do all of that, then do your slides afterwards. And also in the design phase of your slides, you might then make further tweaks to your script. Once you've got it, then you ditch the script, and then because you've used the script to create your slides, you can now ditch the script and use your slides to ad-lib around. Does that make sense? That might sound a bit weird, telling you to write a script and then throw it away. But unless you write the script, you can't design the right slides because they're visual aids. Once you've got the visual aids, you know what you're going to say around them, because otherwise you couldn't have written it and designed the slides in the first place. So then you can use, you know, and you might practice, you know. Okay, I've got a question. What if your content or technical information is higher than the level of your audience? Should you dumb down? Yes and no, Gerard. That's a really good question. What you need to do is you might need to break it down so that they can follow you. And one of the things that I teach when it comes to the audience is you have to know your audience. So you need to know what level that they might be at. You might need to be prepared to go a little bit, you know, to change how you present some of the stuff. What you don't want to do is, if you've only got one person who's flagging behind, you don't want to slow down for that one person because you'll lose the rest, you know. If you dumb down too much, that could be patronising and insulting. So it's all about knowing your audience, knowing the level that they're at in the first place. And it's about making it kind of generic enough so that you're putting it in a way which is, and this is where visual models help. They really help so much because you can put it in a way where it's easy to understand, so that the people who are not as far ahead, they can understand it and get their heads around it. But then you can talk and go a little bit more, you know, technical for those people who have got a little bit more technical expertise, but at the same time, because you've got the visual model there, you're not losing the other ones. Does that make sense? And then of course, you know, what you can do is you can always say to the people who are perhaps not following it, look guys, you know, the help is there, consider some coaching or mentoring with me. If you're struggling with it, then obviously it would make sense for you to kind of come on the program and learn a bit more. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay, hope I've answered that question. And of course, you just continually improve. And what you do is you get feedback from your audience, and that's how you continually improve. So if you find your audience is struggling, the next time you might need to simplify it a little bit. If you find that they're a little bit too they're finding it a bit slow and boring, then you obviously next time you put more in and you speed it up a little bit. A lot of it is testing and measuring all the way until you hone it and you get it right. And nobody gets it right, I mean, the first time, and it's always a journey. Even the guys who are experts at this stuff and have been doing it for a long time, they are still making changes. They're still getting feedback of how they can improve. That's basically it. Oh, the one last thing I should have said on charm, which I forgot, and this is probably the most important thing: be yourself. All right, don't try and emulate anybody else. This is one place where modelling doesn't work. You model the way people think to get the confidence and all of that kind of stuff, but you can't copy their style. You have to have your own style, and the only way you're going to find your own style is to play with it and practice it and all of that kind of stuff. But it's so important for you to just be yourself. That will be how people will connect with you and resonate with you in the first place. And if they don't, do you know what? They were never going to buy from you anyway. So, just develop your own style. Okay, so that's basically the 5 C's. And if you put all those things together, you will, and I've got some more stuff I want to teach you on how to put this stuff together in a way that sells. Okay, but before I do that, I want to just tell you, really, just to do a recap of the whole model. And so that's the whole model. First of all, it's a swarm effect. Make sure you've got your right audience, and as we've just been discussing, that you know your audience, that it's all about the right people. Oops. My slides are going nuts on me. Whoa, slow down, babies. Come back. They're off on a little mind of their own. Right, stop. Okay, so it's all about the right audience. It's all about making sure your topic is relevant to that audience, making sure you've got the right level of poise. Doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter what goes wrong, that you can still be poised, that you choose the right speaking arena, and of course that you craft and develop that killer presentation. So like I said, right people, right topic, right confidence, the right platform with that presentation, and that is what my system is all about. So this is a bit difficult to read, but to recap, okay, you're here because you want to make a difference to others and yourself. You're here because you want to increase your income. You're here because you want to move away from struggle, and you're here because you want to move towards an easier life. Yeah, nice and simple. Tick yes if all of that still applies. Now that we've kind of gone through some of this stuff, just want to remind you that this is why the stuff that I've just been teaching you will help you. Okay. Webinars, in my opinion, are one of the best ways of doing it, and you can do it. Every single one of you here, I know some of you have already run webinars, but you can get better at running webinars. Always be on that journey of continuous improvement. And for those of you who've not yet done webinars, you can do it. Most absolutely you can do it. Now, I just want to tell you about my system, because obviously, if you want some more help, this is a really good way. If you want to follow, okay, I may not be the general at this stage. I'm still, looking for my promotion to being general or regimental sergeant major, but I'm certainly a sergeant, and I can take people safely through an awful lot of the minefield and battlefield of speaking, and particularly with doing webinars. Now, I'm launching this system, as I said before, on 24th of October, and the full price is going to be $497, which for those of us here in the UK is about £300. Now, the good news is, oops, come back. Oh, my slides are going mental again. That was my fault. I clicked the wrong button. I can't blame the technology for that one. Where was I? Come back. Oh, dearie me. There we go, recap. Okay, so the good news is though, because that is under development, I am selling it right now under my old system of the it was under the old name of the Superb Speaking System, and it's only $197 instead of $497. So there's a big drop, but it's only going to be up at that price until the end of Sunday the 20th of October. And what that does is it really does make sure that you've got everything that you need to know about speaking on stage, in meetings, in webinars, with all of the confidence content, charisma, continuous improvement, and the selling. What I haven't got in there right now, but will be added very shortly, is I've got some stuff on videos, but I will be adding. And if you get this now, anything that I add, you will automatically get, okay, as I add it later on. But it'll save you a whole heap of money by getting in now while it's still under development, rather than waiting until I go live with the whole thing. So what does it include? Basically, it includes everything that I've ever done, all in one system, but in a situation where I'm making more sense of it. So what I've done in this system, I've pulled together everything that I was selling separately, which was my five easy steps to perfect presentations, basically profitable presentations, in other words, how to sell, everything that I've been doing over the last 6 months about webinars. I've also got a whole load of webinar recordings on certain topics about speaking, and I've got a whole shed load of, I've got about 6 webinars about webinars that you can take advantage of. I've got guides on selling from the stage. I've got DVDs all about confidence and so on, and I've got a great interview by a lady called Kelly Watkins, who literally makes $10,000 a speech, and she's given me some tips all about speaking from a stage as well. Plus, you'll get an electronic copy of my book, Befriending the Bear of Public Speaking, which I'm currently selling on Amazon, and you'll get that thrown in as well in electronic version. Okay, so that's what it includes. Plus, when I launch my 5-star speaker system, you will automatically be put over onto the new system when it is, you know, in all its superstar glory. And I'm really thrilled with the way that that is coming together. And I have to say, it's something, you know, it's the thing I'm most proud of. I think it's like, you know, when all the things you've been studying for over the past 10 years or whatever all come together, that's kind of how I feel about my speaker system. But because this is, as I said, I wanted to share with you, and I didn't want to say this before I at least told you about my system, but the secret too, which is my final piece of content, is don't sell at the end. Now, I've just given you the information about my program at the end, but I've actually been selling right from the beginning, and that's what you should do too. Now I'm going to give you, right at the very last part of this, a template. So in a short while, I'm going to give you a template. Oh, one thing I do need to put up, because I often have a habit of forgetting, I'm just going to give you the link to these special offers. So should you want to, it'd be a bit poor if I told you all about this and then forgot to give you the link to go there, wouldn't it? So I'm just going to put that in the chat box for you. Oh, I don't know if it's going to take the hyperlink. Hang on a sec. Now, obviously, this is Nick's webinar joint venture that I'm doing, so it is a link which connects with Nick, so I'm just going to stick that in. There we go. That's the link in there as well. So that's basically where you want to go. But like I said, what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to give you this template, and what I want you to do is download the template. And then when you get the replay of this webinar, I want you to watch it with the template. And you'll see that actually I'm selling all the way from start. Right at the beginning, I gave you stats as to why webinars. Then I started connecting with, well, do you know what? You're probably in this situation where you don't have as many clients as you want and so forth. So I gave you all the reasons and all the kind of reasons why you would want this system and why you would want more help. Okay, so this is a bit risky because I'm kind of telling you here all my techniques, but I don't mind. I don't mind being transparent. If I've done my job properly, you'll like it and you'll want to buy it anyway, But if not, you can still learn from what I'm telling you, okay? So the secret is don't sell at the end. Make it a seamless flow. Selling content, selling content, selling content from start to end, okay? Now then, I've got some other special bonuses for you, because this is a special favour for all the people who are on Nick's list and who have come to me through Nick, who is obviously my mentor. Instead of it being $197, I am going to give it you for just $97. That is £62, something like that. It barely covers a really good night out. So, but you'd have to do that by the end of tomorrow, okay? So if you do it by end of play tomorrow, why am I doing that? Well, first of all, we love to procrastinate. And I've done this myself a million times. I've looked at a program on a webinar and I thought, it looks good. I like the look of that. But do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go away and I'm going to think about it. And then what happens, and I've done this, I've gone away and I've thought about it, and then I've got sidetracked with other things and I thought, yes, I'll do that. And then life takes over and I've forgotten to go back in by the deadline, and then I found that I've missed it. So I want to encourage you to actually get in, don't procrastinate, and once you're in, trust me, I will have you doing webinars in no time at all, okay? And if you put all of this into practice, your webinars will start selling. So you get it for only $97. On top of that, I'm so convinced that you'll love it. I am prepared to give a money back guarantee. If after 30 days you think that I haven't delivered what I've promised, you can basically just ask for a refund and I'll give you your money back. That's how happy I am with what I've put together. Now, for those to really stop you procrastinating, I've put some more stuff in. If you decide to act before tonight, I will also give you a one-to-one strategy session with me for free. Okay, so I normally charge $297 for a strategy session, and I'll let you have one of those for free. And I'll put you into a draw for 2 free tickets to Andy Harrington's Power to Achieve event, which is taking place in November. Now, he's selling those on his website at £895 each. Okay, so that's worth about £1,700. Yeah, about £1,700. So if you do decide that this is for you, and to encourage you not to procrastinate and to get you on board, because I would love to work with you, I'm going to give you the chance to win those tickets. And let's face it, it's not going to be like, a 1 in 1,000 chance here. You're probably going to stand a fairly good chance of winning those tickets, and that event is amazing. So that's basically the bonuses. So have you got any questions at all, either about the content that I've shared with you or about the offer? I'll take some questions now, and then I'll put the link up. In fact, I'm going to put the link up for your download while I take questions. So just type some questions into the box while I go find the link for the download. Order done. Thanks, Gerard. Great to have you on board. I'm excited. I love working with people. And I should have said, there's a Facebook group especially for you as well. And I'll also put you into my Wicked Webinar Facebook group. And there's a whole load of stuff. Thanks, Jeff. More orders. Okay, it's a fabulous community, people that I've got together. So, you're filling the form while I was speaking. That's really cool. Right, there's your link for your free template strategy download. I would absolutely love to help you. Are there any more questions? Is anything that I've mentioned to you tonight that you're still unsure of? Any last questions that I can answer for you? Or any questions indeed about the special offer and a program? This is going to be the last time I'm ever going to be offering at this price. I'll tell you for one reason, not just because you know, it's obviously going up, and, you know, let's face it, it's scarcity and all that, but I promise you this is the last time, because as my mentor, Nick has told me I have to put my price up. So, and I'll be shot if I don't stick to that. Mary, do I recommend iLive webinar? Yes, I do. Right, I'm going to be honest with you. There is no perfect system out there. None of the webinar platforms that I've tried tick all the boxes and give it to me all. iLive webinar is actually, I don't know why they don't put it in the URL. It's a very ugly URL, but it's the Evergreen Business Systems. And if you go into my Wicked Webinar Facebook group, I can give you the pros and cons of, I've put a report together for the pros and cons of about 10 of them. iLive webinar, which is the Evergreen Business Systems, if you go to that Facebook page, Webinar Diva, facebook.com Webinar Diva, I've got it on there, and it's got a 50%, it's got a 50% thing off at the moment. There's two parts to it. You've got automated webinars, so you can take a webinar and then you can just run it automated, so it carries on, so, you know, people can just sign up at any time, which I think is a really cool thing to have. And it's normally $497. It's on special offer at the moment, so you get it for $247, I think, if it's still there and it's still running. It's still good even for the full price. But then it gives you the ability to do live webinars like this one on this platform. And let me just share you a difference in price. Go to webinar for 100 seats, $99. Evergreen live version, which is this one, the iLive webinar, for 100 seats, $29 a month. Big difference. But it gets even bigger as you want more seats. 500 seats with GoToWebinar is, as I recall, $399. 500 seats with Evergreen iLive is $69. So that's a really good reason. Apart from, you know, let's face it, we all want to preserve our cash right now, and we want to keep our money to invest in other more interesting things. So yeah, I as you've seen, it's not perfect. It's corrupted all my slides. I'm sure there's a way that I can figure out how to solve that problem, but I haven't sussed that just yet because I've been so busy playing with different webinar platforms. I haven't probably got 100% au fait with all of them yet. Yeah, I'm using PowerPoint, Tony. It was a PowerPoint that I imported into the system. Okay. Yeah, iLive is, once you've got the live version, it's pay as you go. Are there any other live yeah, there's loads of no, they'll all be recorded, Linda, all the ones as part of the program. Although saying that, the people who are in my program, I will do ad hoc live webinars now and again for you as well, because, you know, I really want to build a good community. But most of it is recorded, but I will invite you to live webinars, you know, again like this one. Okay, you can't see the template. I'll just pop it in again. It's in the chat. I'll just pop it in again. Okay, that's the template. And for any of you who might have missed the page, okay, any other questions before I let you go and have a fab evening? I'll just copy in the where's it gone? Come back. Okay, that was a template. This is the offer that I've given you for tonight. That's the Infusionsoft Nick James one. I'm going to start using this one soon. Talk Fusion. Yeah, I've had a look at that one, Mavis. There's quite a big upfront cost, but it does look good. That's one of those I've got on my list to take a look at. Fantastic. Any other questions then? If not, I shall move on to that. Like I said, I've given you the link there for your planning template. Please do go and say hi on my Facebook page, facebook.com Webinar Diva. I would love to engage with you more. If you are at all interested in my speaker system, then please do get in tonight to get the other freebies, certainly by tomorrow to get it at the lower price. And I would really love having you to work with and give you lots of information and share loads of great stuff. So all of that said and done, remember everything that you've learned tonight, although it's mainly been about webinars. It only needs a bit of tweaking and you can use it on stage, you can use it in your videos and in meetings as well. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to bid you a really good night. Sorry I have gone on, but I do love to go on. I apologise for keeping you, but you've stayed with me, so that's all good. Have a lovely evening. A lot of you I know, so I look forward to seeing you shortly at some of the events that we go to. And thank you so much for staying with me. A really large percentage of you have stayed with me on this webinar this evening, and I'm really grateful that you've given up your time and your attention to, you know, which is very precious, I know, to listen to me this evening. So have a lovely evening. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Well, that's 120 quid anyway. I had about 50 on there at one point. I forgot to stop recording.